I was just telling this story of the first time I ever performed for refugees, which was in 1987 in Chiapas. And it was a community of Guatemalan people from the highlands of Guatemala that were escaping the Civil War. And they had been brought together by the Seva Foundation, by Alejandra Alvarez, who invited me to come down and clown for them. And I had no idea what would take place, and I'd never performed outside of the Western world, further than Mexico, let's say. And when I got there and we got out of the car, the kids kind of were curious, and I was doing my usual thing with my little magic tricks and going, achoo! And the kids would laugh, and then the mothers were like, and the kids were like, ooh, and they all went back to being with their parents, or actually just their moms. Their dads were still in the fields and they were cutting cane, and later on the dads and the younger boys were there, and they all had black faces from the cane. And anyway, after that, I started performing, and they weren't really laughing at anything I was doing. They're all watching me like this. And I was doing all my tricks. I was, playing with my hat. I was doing this, and I was doing that, and nothing. I do this, and nothing was getting laughs. And I was really starting to wonder what's going on here. And what it was that at that time I was mostly a juggler, and I was trying to demonstrate skills for them, and they weren't relating to that because they probably had never even seen a juggler or a clown or a movie or a theater play or even television for the most part. So at one point I was trying to juggle with 5 yellow balls, and they were big balls. And the ground was really silty, and I went to pick up the 3 balls because you kind of have to hold 2 and 3, and I couldn't hold the 3. They kept slipping out of my hand. And then and so I kept on trying, and I tried to juggle, and they would all fall down because I would hold 2 and 2 and pick up the 5th one like this, and I would try to throw it, and then I started getting frustrated, and that's when they started laughing. First I heard some oh, and then I heard some chuckles, oh la la, and then they started laughing, and then I was like, and then they were really laughing, and there was a wall behind me, and I went up to the wall, and I went, pop, 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 oops, don't, and I came back going, ow, and they were laughing at that, and I went back and I kicked the wall, and I came back hopping on 1 foot, and that was really funny. And so there was a lot of lessons that took place in that moment. I mean, that was 1987. That was 6 years before Clowns Without Borders, before Tortel went on the road to Croatia. And I'm sure there's been other clowns before me. There was Ben Linder, who went into Nicaragua with an American. I mean, there's been many people doing this kind of work. But I think that story for me encapsulates a lot, because I learned about what is funny, what is common amongst the people. They're laughing at my anger. That's funny because they can relate to that. All the stuff I do doesn't mean anything. And I think that in my journey over the years as a performer, there's less and less skills and more of who is this human being, and what kind of problems, how are they solving it? Anyway, that's my story.